Hey friends, it's Maddie. Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing kind of a fun video. I know people like a lot of, I guess, negative booktube videos. I don't know if it's that negative, but we'll see. Basically, what we're going to do is I'm just going to talk about things that I do not like in thrillers. Now, of course, these are just my opinions. I'm not saying that if you like these things in thrillers, you're a bad person, or if you like the books I mention, you're a bad person. Taste is incredibly subjective, and we all like different things. I believe I originally saw this video, or at least the most recent one I can remember, is that Leanne from Literary Diversions did it, and I quite liked it, so I was like, I'm gonna do this too. So basically, I'm just gonna talk about things I don't like in thrillers, and I'm gonna tell you why, and give you some examples. Also, my window is open, and it's a very windy day, but it is finally cool outside, so I wanted my window open, so if you hear some wind, sorry. Okay, let's crack into it. I have a beer, I have my iPad with my list on it, let's get into it. So the first thing, and potentially my least favorite thing that happens in thrillers, is demonization of mental illness. This happens very frequently where the person who ends up being the bad person, or even sometimes the main character, is mentally ill. And a lot of times there's like depression involved, multiple personality disorder, bipolar, dissociative identity disorder, these types of things. And while including people with those things in literature is a good idea, I think representation for mental illness is incredibly important. I like reading about people who are going through things that I am personally going through, but it becomes an issue when that person is a murderer because of it, or they go behind their significant other's back, or whatever it may be. It becomes an issue for me. And I have a couple examples. These are books that I read this year. There are plenty more examples, but these are just a couple. For this category, I had two picks. What Lies Between Us by John Mars. This is a book I read, I think, last month, and one of the characters in the book has dissociative identity disorder, and we don't find this out until later on in the book, so I'm not going to tell you which character it is, but it kind of ruins the entire rest of the plot of the book. So basically the pitch of this book is that there is a woman who is keeping another woman locked up in the attic, chained up every night. And while that is, an intriguing premise, and it's the reason why I picked the book up, you go on to find out that the reason certain characters in the book did things that you find out about as the book goes on is because they have dissociative identity disorder. And like, basically the message of this category is like, all people with this disorder do not act this way. And when that is the only representation you're getting in the media, it makes people think that people with dissociative identity disorder do horrible things to people, and it's not cool. The other book I have is The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. I dislike this book for a whole host of reasons. Basically, the premise of this book is there is a man who has 3 wives, and we are following the one called Thursday, who he sees on Thursday. And this is one of those books that has a twist about halfway through, where the premise of the book, or what you thought was happening, was actually this other thing, right? Basic thriller concept. And one of the twists is that one of the characters in the book is mentally ill. I can't remember if they give them a specific diagnosis or not, but essentially I've said all I need to say about this. I think it's just, it doesn't need to happen. No more villains with BPD or bipolar or dissociative identity disorder or ADD, OCD, whatever. Just stop doing it. Can't people be bad for other reasons? Like, give them a tragic backstory where someone in their family was murdered and they're taking revenge or something. Like, the mental illness as the reason for things is so played out. Like, come on, 1960s Psycho. Come on, it's 2020. Can we move past that, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
My next trope that I hate is alcoholic women. It serves a purpose in the novel to make the character unreliable because they don't remember. She doesn't remember what happened because she was way too drunk to remember. And you know, alcoholism is a problem and it's something that people struggle with all the time. And again, to demonize something like that is pretty fucked up. Like, people have problems. Alcoholics don't normally kill people. Like, that's not a common thing that happens. 2 books that did this that I did not enjoy. At least I didn't enjoy that they did this. First one, Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This book is, it's intriguing. I gave it like between 3 and 4 stars. I can't remember, but now, number one, I'll never read another book from this author. You should Google his name. You'll find out a whole host of things about him that you do not want to know. And I'm sick of it. It happened in The Girl on the Train too, by Paula Hawkins. And like, yes, it makes our character unreliable and it gives, you know, that kind of thing of like, well, is this really what happened? Or were you just too drunk and you didn't really know? And it's like, dude, I just think it's easy. It's like a cheap, easy, quick, fill in the blank type of plot line. And I've read it so many times that literally if I read a thriller and it has like a plot line where somebody is an alcoholic, I'm like, okay, next book. I've gotten so cavalier about DNFs this year. It is chef's kiss. Okay, next one is protagonists that we are told are smart, but they're not actually that smart. I have 2 examples of this. One of them is more fresh in my mind than the other one, but I won't get too into it because my wrap up will have some complaints. But yeah, this is exactly what it sounds like. Protagonists who we're told is like really smart, or they do things that seem really smart, but then all of a sudden like they're making really incredibly like questionable decisions. So the first book I have for this is one that I just recently DNF'd at about 150 pages, and that is The Night Swim by Goldin. So this book is about a true crime podcaster, and she is covering this rape trial that is currently happening, but she's also receiving anonymous letters from this girl who wants her to investigate her sister's murder. It sounded really good. As someone who loves true crime podcasts, especially podcasts and books, I was like, yes, please. What I could not get past was this true crime podcaster who we are told is she's like innovative. She's like the greatest podcaster. She finds all these clues and solves cases that the police can't. Decides that, okay, so like the premise of this book, no one knows who she is. Like, they know her name, but somehow, which this is highly unbelievable to me, somehow she's managed to never be photographed, so no one knows what she looks like. So she's at this like rest stop or something, at the gas station or something, like on the way somewhere. So like no one knows where she's going, number one, and also no one knows what time, or that she didn't even plan on like stopping at this rest stop or whatever. And oh my god, I'm getting way too into this book. But basically someone starts leaving her these anonymous letters, and she follows what the letters say to do, even though she doesn't know who they're from. No one is supposed to know who she is, and she's supposed to be investigating another case. But she spends half the book, well, I assume is half the book, half of what I read, following this trail of this case that has nothing to do with what she's supposed to be doing, and is being given to her by someone who says she's the girl's sister, but she never actually meets her. So it could be anybody. And it's just like, if she's so smart, if she's like this great investigator, don't you think she'd be smart enough not to go to all these places alone? I think she would. The other book that does this is 29 Seconds by TM Logan. This is a book I read last year during Spookathon or Dewey's 24-hour readathon, I can't remember. And I distinctly remember finishing this book on 3 times audio. And I just remember like wanting to get through it. I wanted to finish it. And this was before I was like comfortable DNFing books, really. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't my favorite thing to do. If I got to a certain point of a book, I was like, oh, well, I might as well just finish it. I don't do that shit anymore. It has to do with like the premise of this book is she saves a girl or something from being kidnapped, and so someone says, if I can make one person disappear for you, who would it be? And then she can make that person disappear. And again, this is another book where the character just does things where you're just like, what are you doing? Like, this is not what a sane person would do. This is not what a normal human being who just like works in an office and has a shitty boss would do. Like, it's just not what would happen. And it is just so infuriating to me when characters don't act like normal human beings. Another thing in thrillers that bothers me is too many perspectives. This one, the only one I can really think of is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. I seriously could not follow that book. I started it on audio and was completely confused. So then I went out and got the physical book from my library to try and figure it out, and I still couldn't figure it out. The list of characters in that book is so long, and it is incredibly unnecessary. You don't have to switch to a different character's perspective just to tell us something about that character. Another character can introduce things about another character. It happens all the time in single perspective books, okay? Stop doing it. We don't need different perspectives for every character. Another thing I don't like is books that are marketed as thrillers but are more mysteries. Now, this one is contentious. People can argue with me that these books are thrillers. That's fine. But I have a very clear distinction between what I consider to be a thriller and what I consider to be a mystery. Okay? A mystery, to me, is more about who done it. That's what a mystery more is. Who done it. A thriller can be about who did something, but it's also like these things are currently happening. There's suspense, there's intrigue, there's anxiety going on with the book. And for these books that I'm going to talk about, I didn't feel that. Okay, so the two that I have is The Dry by Jane Harper. I really liked this book. I thought it was really good. It is not a thriller. It's a mystery. There's no one coming after him trying to, kill him. There's no, race against the clock for anything. There's nothing like that. He's just trying to figure out what happened. You're following Detective Aaron Falk, who is trying to figure out what happened when he was younger or something like that. Another book that I think is not a thriller is The Family Upstairs. This is a lot more of a mystery to me. Again, there's not really those high stakes. There's not really those what the hell is going on type of moments. That tree outside my window is so loud. It's more about figuring out what happened. And then just a blank thing, books that aren't thrillers, but I don't consider them to be mysteries either. It's just what the fuck is this book? And the two books that I have for this is Dead to Her by Sarah Pinborough, which was a contemporary romance with some fantasy elements in it, I guess. And someone dies. This book I did not understand. Truly. And the other one is The Perfect Girlfriend by somebody I can't remember. It's right here. Karen Hamilton, maybe? I don't know. The Perfect Girlfriend is about this girl who really wants to be with this guy that she knows, and she stalks him. I guess it's kind of a thriller. I don't know. I don't see it as very thrilling because we are in the perspective of the girlfriend. So I guess it's more like You by Carolyn Kepnes, and I thought You was more of a horror than a thriller, but I could be wrong. Finally, the subgenre or the thing I do not like in thrillers is women that are desperate to make friends, so they end up just trusting anyone. And that sounds super specific, but I have multiple examples for this, so here we go. This is a weird subgenre that has recently cropped up. The one that I'm thinking of most is You Are Not Alone by Greer, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekkanen. What is this book? This is another one that I think could go under protagonists who aren't very smart or don't make intelligent decisions. She gets swept up in this relationship with these women. And number one, I found it incredibly unbelievable. I just don't think that this could happen. And it was just not interesting. I don't know. It felt more about the friendship between the women than it did about the person that died, I guess. And I know all thrillers don't have to be about people that died, but And the last book I have for this category is Never Have I Ever by Joshilyn Jackson. This is a book about like a new woman who comes to the neighborhood and she's like trying to blackmail someone in the neighborhood, and it just was like, why trust this person? And I mean, I guess she didn't really trust this person, but it was more about the relationship between these two women than it was about anything that had happened. Okay, so that is a list of most of the things that I do not like in thrillers. I think I captured my feelings. As you can see, I get really intense sometimes when I'm talking about things that I don't like. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I would like to know, what are things in thrillers that bug you? We all have different tastes, like I said, so I would love to know the things that irk you. Maybe it's something I like, or maybe it's something I didn't think of. Think about that. So please let me know down in a comment things that you do not like in thrillers. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and hit that subscribe button if you would like more content from me, preferably not with a noisy tree in the background. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.